Welcome back to the Two Guys Named Chris show. Our official attorney, Lisa Lanier, is on the line. Lawyer Up comes your way every single Friday at this time. Got a couple of things to ask her about. They're just in a dim report, not even on her docket today, and the docket's full already. Lisa, hello, and how are you?
I'm fantastic. I hope you guys are.
Well, doing really well. Chris Dim just brought us in a dim report a couple of stories that I think you should probably comment on. One, a judge of 18 years had to wind up resigning because he kept wearing Elvis wigs and playing Elvis music
during the swearing in.
Is this grounds for dismissal, Lisa, you think?
So every state has a judicial standards commission and protocol and rules. And while it's not necessarily something that would fit squarely in the black letter of the law, because no one would really anticipate that. Anyway, so you don't put the Elvis clause, in the bylaws. But professionalism and judgment and some of those kind of things are certainly violated. And I wonder if was he a little demented? Was he getting a touch of,
Maybe. We don't know his age.
We don't know.
I was speculating.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he was to the point where he's just like, I don't care. I'm going to do what I want.
Maybe so.
Kick me out. How about this? Now, this is more interesting, really, to me. A drug dealer in Texas was convicted. He had cocaine on him. He had all sorts of meth on him and everything. They convicted him, and then distributing. So they convicted him, and then he appealed because later it turned out there were only 11 jurors in the jury box. But the judge swears, she's like, there were 12 there, but I can't.
I know there were 12.
She says, can't prove it. So what happens when why would they think there's only 11? Do all the jurors have to sign something at the end and maybe one forgot to sign? How could that have happened?
And it's been established that there were only 11.
It's
a fact. And it's crazy because nobody noticed it.
Yeah.
I mean, how they're just all, I guess, just so accustomed to doing this. It's just it's become so rote. They don't even pay attention to the details because they only swore in 11. And so and so this guy, worst kind of drug dealer, he had bricks of opioids and fentanyl. It's terrible, terrible guy causing, probably deaths from all this.
Yeah.
And he admitted it was he said, but it was not for distribution. It was for personal consumption. It was a tremendous amount, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
And so, but this guy he straight up walks. He absolutely walks. And the prosecutor in the appellate court tried to argue to the appellate court and say, well, yeah, there were only 11, and we all get that now, but he didn't object. His lawyer should have objected, and the fact that he didn't object means he waived it. But the Court of Appeals said, no, this is written in the Texas Constitution. You have to have 12, and they didn't. So, bam, he walked.
They had no choice.
Wow, 11.
Could they retry him?
No,
that is off the table.
Yeah, he's just done.
This is really upsetting.
He's the luckiest man in Texas.
The prosecuting attorney didn't notice. The judge didn't notice. Nobody noticed. Isn't there one empty seat there every single day?
Yeah, there was 11 of them, right? I mean,
yeah.
And how could they not have noticed the empty seat, right?
That's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, the defense attorney must have been thinking to themselves, we've got him.
Yeah.
Oh, jackpot.
Do you think the defense attorney noticed and didn't say anything, or do you think he didn't notice either?
I don't think anybody noticed.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that sometimes, because in some situations, a lot of situations, actually, you have alternates. So it's not always, going to be exactly 12. So sometimes the jury box is going to be bigger, like it's going to have an extra row, and people don't sit right next to each other, so they spread out. I mean, so you can kind of see maybe. If there's more than 12 seats, they don't sit jammed right on top of each other.
See, in TV and movies, you're used to seeing the box for 12 and the alternates are in a different box.
Exactly. You see that.
Right.
But the judge ought to be like, how they count in football? Like when you're kicking off, like 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, got my 11. Got to have your 12. I can't believe that. That is a stunning outcome.
Now, and I read two different versions of it. One version said that the verdict was thrown out, which could mean that they could retry him. But another one I read said that they could not retry him. So I'm not sure how the appellate court came down on that.
That's crazy.
But I would hope that they will retry him if they can, because, this guy was the worst kind of drug dealer.
Yeah, this is common sense. Let's try to retry him if there's any way inside the law, because he's clearly guilty and he's clearly a terrible drug dealer. Unbelievable. Unreal. By the way, my wife, I don't know if you're watching This is on Hulu, the Alex Murdaugh made-for-television show for Hulu, played by actors. She swears. Now, the courtroom scenes have been shown. We watched the final episode the other day, and my wife, who was present in the courtroom at the Murdaugh trial on 4 separate occasions, swears that they cast an actor to play her in the courtroom, and
The mysterious dark-haired lady.
yes, and did a marvelous job. That they had her mannerisms down to a T.
I love it.
When they were
She's
showing
becoming
her.
famous.
And,
Yes.
yes, and Biggie agrees. He's looked at it as well and says, "Oh yeah, that's her.
I'm on her side on this, Lisa.
That's her." And her cousin Stephanie's.
I've watched a little bit of that. I'm going to have to keep watching it now with,
Oh,
with
yes.
the new vision for trying to catch the A train.
Get that last episode when they show Murdaugh sitting at the defense table. She's right behind him, just in shadowy figure. That's her. That's the actress playing her. How about this? Now, this hits close to home for Biggie. A dispute last week, not at just any Food Lion, but at Biggie's Food Lion, where someone went to the register to pay and said, "Hey, you're overcharging me for this turkey. You got a deal going now where turkey is 34 cents a pound." And the woman said, "Yes, we do, but you have to spend $35 before you get that." And he said, I do not. And he got in her face. Someone else came over to try to defend her and said, "That's a woman. Why don't you talk that way to me? Come at me like that." Eventually, fisticuffs were thrown.
All right, then I will.
The original gentleman goes out to the parking lot. They go out to the parking lot. He tries to get his gun out of his fanny pack, has trouble doing it, and says, "Oh, my gun's stuck here." The other guy says, "Well, I got my gun in my truck. Let me go into my truck and get the gun, and then we'll start having it out." One gets shot in the arm. The question is, legally here, who's going to be charged? Who's at fault? They both shot at each other. One got winged. The damage was done to the Food Lion window and parking lot. And the poor woman said, I didn't know what was going on. And the big question is, did the guy do the right thing by going over and trying to protect this woman, or should he have just stayed out of it like everybody else did? What are your thoughts on this case?
Well, my initial thought was that you just don't keep your gun in your fanny pack. That is not where you keep your gun. It is going to be impossible to get it out quickly.
True.
Don't do it.
True.
I mean, and just even fanny pack. Come on. I mean, like that just kind of undoes all the masculine toxicity of carrying your gun.
Yeah.
Hold on. I got to unzip my fanny pack.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Fair enough.
Altoids, Kleenex, Blistex,
I know I had a gun.
keys.
I know I had a gun.
Condom.
Where is
hand
that gun?
sanitizer on too. Got to get the hand sanitizer out of the way.
Blood pressure
first.
medicine.
Yep.
Right.
Where's my gun?
Hang on.
Oh my God! It's years
Can I
old.
meet you in the
Where
parking
is
lot?
it?
I'm gonna need a minute.
Well, I got to run to my car anyway. That's where my gun is.
Fine.
Okay.
Give me a sec.
Oh my God! No, and here's the other thing: Food Lion in North Carolina has been the scene of a shootout 4 times in the last few years.
Oh,
yeah.
So the one in Kernersville had a shooting in the parking lot in June. This one in High Point that was this month. There was a shootout in Raleigh a couple of years ago, and then another one in Greensboro in 2016. And so it's like shootout at Food Lion is a thing in North Carolina.
Man.
They're following Biggie.
Yep.
Both guys were charged.
This was my Food Lion.
Yeah, that's right. They were both charged, you say?
They were both charged. Yeah, at first everybody was kind of scratching their heads because they didn't think the High Point police had charged anyone, and they were like, surely somebody's going to get charged. But then finally it was announced. But they were both charged so far with just misdemeanors, and everybody's kind of shocked at that. So, and the charges were going armed to the terror of the public, which is a common law charge. It's a misdemeanor, and simple affray, another one that is a common law charge. And but there's a potential here for assault with a deadly weapon. And one guy got shot in the arm and was sent to the hospital.
Yeah.
And so it's surprising that this is the only charge that came out of this. And, I think this is, I'm a big pro-gun person, but I do think this is the thing that scares me a little bit about how common the conceal and carry has become, is you get people who are just stupid, hotheads, sometimes impaired, and bam, they got a gun.
I know.
Shoot out at Food Lion. But it's a real struggle for me personally because I'm such a pro-gun person. You want people to have that ability, but then you got to worry about all the damn lunatics.
The nuts. That's right.
This is not really legally it doesn't pertain to the legal case. But I did get an email from a woman who's a regular Food Lion shopper, and she said they make it very plain what you have to do to get the turkey deal.
Oh, okay. Because some people were saying online that print is
real small on the bottom.
Small print on those posters saying you got to spend the $35. All right.
Now, maybe in store it's different.
Do you think the guy who came over and said, "Hey, that's a woman, come at me," was he acting heroically, or should he have done something? Because the way I would have handled it, I told this on the air. I said I'd have gone over to him and said, "Hey, excuse me,
Excuse me,
sir."
Holmes?
Okay. I'd have said, "Listen," I would have said, "Hey, friend, looks to me like you've misread the sign here." And I would have literally given him $35 out of the goodness of my heart at the holidays and said, "Here you go. Here's $35. Go buy yourself $35 worth of groceries, or let me just pay for that turkey for you." Isn't that the better way to handle it, Lisa?
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
No one believes it either, Lisa.
About that one. But, well, I mean, he wouldn't have had to pull that gun out of the fanny pack.
That's
if he
right.
didn't
No.
have
That's
Yeah,
right.
but no one believes him.
that. Yeah.
Hey, stuff this in your fanny pack.
Please.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think these days, again, because we do have, this kind of danger everywhere, you can't, I've been behind somebody at a stoplight where they didn't notice that it turned green, and you tap the horn. That's the universal, hey, tap your horn, say, hey, look, go, it's green. Then you get somebody that just road rages on you, and maybe they have a gun in the car.
Yep.
And they're mad at you just for a simple signal. That's a signal. That's not, I wasn't saying screw you, just saying, but, but how many times does that happen now? People are crazy.
You've got to go tiny, tiny, tiny tap.
Yeah. I become real good with levels of horn, and you have to learn the polite tap now.
My mother used to. She would never. The horn would not even blow. She would hit it and go. Toot, 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 toot. And I was like, I said, they can't hear that. She was just doing it with her mouth, like. Toot, 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 toot. She was a very gentle soul.
Even more passive aggressive than her son.
I know. Maybe that's where I got my passive aggressive nature. The one time when I got to be a teenager, finally, I just laid on the horn one time. She was driving. I reached over and just laid. And this guy gave big white meaty arm comes out and gives her the finger. My poor mother.
What is that?
I was so upset for her.
I need to perfect the delicate.
She didn't even. The horn did not blow. No sound was made from the car, just of her. Going, toot, 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 toot.
It'd be great if that worked, though. If suddenly somebody remember, what's that noise? I got the green.
Yeah, the human horn. There is another case here. We're not going to get near the docket here because we're just off disc jockey jaw jacking about Food Line and so forth. But this one is interesting. A groom, this is from England now, says his honeymoon was ruined because the airline he and his wife were flying, they were going to Thailand, and they were flying, I don't know this airline, Etihad Airline. And when they got to the place at the airport to show their passports,
In their home country?
in Manchester, England, the guy's passport had a smudge on it. So they did a 30-minute inspection. His wife's passport was approved, no problem. But he was told, sorry, smudge on your...
smudged, mate.
Can't do it. So they had to quickly reroute.
So what does that mean? It could be faked?
I guess so. Is that what they were saying here, Lisa? Because the smudge kept them grounded. They had to do something different for the honeymoon. He says, we're out money, and you've really cost us here. What do you think about this, Lisa? Does that just happen?
Yeah, I mean, he wants to go after this airline, and it's a pretty popular airline to fly from the UK to places like Thailand, and they have a direct flight, and it's pretty popular. But and he'd flown it before, and that's actually that was the stamp so the country stamp section in the back of his passport book. That's where it smudged. It was the Thailand stamp that was smudged. And they said the airline knew that Thailand was very strict about this, and so they actually got on the phone and sent images over to the immigration officials in Thailand, and that's who vetoed it. And that's why it took so long. They were sending these images and stuff because they can't send somebody over there if they know there's a problem. Mm-hmm. And so I don't see the airline having any culpability here. Apparently Thailand is just very strict about the way your passport looks. And they said that his passport appeared water damaged as well, which he says it doesn't. It's not. But there is this. There was a slight smudge. I put a picture of it on my social media. It's very subtle. It doesn't look like anything. If anything, it almost looks like the immigration official maybe just hit it with their hand when the ink was still kind of wet.
Yeah.
Just as they came across it. Yeah, it seems really unfair, and they had to I think ultimately they got a refund for most of their stuff, so hopefully all ended well, and they went someplace else.
Yeah, they did.
They could not get to Phuket.
They did not go to Phuket. That's where they're going. They're going to Phuket. They were, and they wound.
It's not Phuket. That's funny if you say.
I thought it was Phuket, but it is pronounced.
Maybe Koh Samui. Oh, Samui. What is it?
Yeah.
Koh Samui.
Koh Samui?
They go to Koh Samui, Phuket. I talk Thai pretty
Real
good.
good.
Yeah. And they wound up going to Cyprus instead. And they had to get that done like right there.
It's almost like he's going to need a new passport.
It seems like it.
Because that page is going to cause him problems.
That's what he actually ended up getting before he flew to the next country. He just got a whole new passport. Isn't Phuket one of those places that was really wiped out by a tsunami one time?
It was.
Yeah, I will never go there. Yeah.
Like, me neither, because of that. When I hear Phuket, it's because that typhoon 20 years ago, but it was really damaged by that. Exactly right. A couple of cases here involving copyright infringement. Chris Tim and Biggie and I were on opposite sides this other day. Chris Tim and I agreed. Eminem, the rapper, is going after a beach brand from Australia called Swim Shady. They sell beach umbrellas, they sell towels, swim bags, a little bit of clothing, some shorts. Eminem has filed a petition with the U.S. Patent Office asking them to cancel Swim Shady's U.S. trademark because his song, Slim Shady, would be confused for Swim Shady, and he says, absolutely not. I don't want to be a part of this. He wants to keep him out of the U.S. They said they're not going to roll over. They're going to fight. Who wins here, small company from Australia or Eminem, the rapper from the United States?
Well, so far, the company from Australia is fighting hard. A lot of these cases settle with the smaller entity agreeing to stop using the trademark. But here, and he didn't actually sue them. He filed petitions with the trademark office to cancel their mark because he's saying it interferes with his mark. So that's a little bit different way of going about it. It's kind of too early to tell because it's going to come down to whether the trademark officials believe that there is dilution of Eminem's brand or brand confusion between the two. I don't think he wins on confusion because he doesn't sell sun products, and there's a totally different industry, and that usually gets you out of brand confusion. But dilution of his brand, maybe, and do people think he's endorsed this product? Because it's not a very Slim Shady Eminem type product. It's a very sort of happy, colorful, lots of oranges and teals and summer looking colors and stuff. Not very Eminem like.
Well,
would it matter, Lisa, which came first, his song or the company founding?
Yeah, it matters, and his did come first. And in Australia, he's also going after them through the patent office. So he's not actually suing the company at this point. And he's very protective of his brand. He's in litigation right now with a podcast called Reasonably Shady, and I really think he has not a very good chance of winning on that one.
Now that one, no.
Yeah, you can't just own Shady. The
Right,
word Shady.
You own Shady, exactly.
Could you copyright Shady if you're? I don't think so.
It's too broad, right?
I mean, you're not allowed to just completely own a common word like that, and to the exclusion of all others. No.
That's what I was thinking. Well, you came down on the side of Biggie. Chris Tim and I both said if we heard Swim Shady, we'd think of Eminem.
Yeah, I thought he had branched out.
He's always doing sunwear now, doing a couple of beach umbrellas. And same type thing here, Costco. And I'm on the side of Costco.
Always have been. You carry the water.
I will. They are facing a class action lawsuit, perhaps, because they're accused of falsely advertising their Kirkland brand tequila as 100% Blue Weber agave. The lawsuit filed in federal court in Florida says that actually they don't use the Blue Weber agave. Something about the levels of sugar and ethanol that they have in their tequila could not be derived from that. And so you're not really buying tequila when you go to Costco. You're buying a cheap knockoff.
Water.
That's sugar water. But
sugar water.
Kirkland has not commented. Lisa, if I know you, you've belted back a little Kirkland tequila.
I'm a big old tequila drinker, but I've never bought the Kirkland brand.
Right.
So, here in North Carolina, a Kirkland brand of tequila is not available.
Unfortunate. Very unfortunate, right? All right, who's going to win here?
Well, as much as I love Costco, because you and I are, Kelly, we're Costco lovers.
Oh, yes.
I think Costco's going down here if these allegations are true, because these consumer protection laws are really clear. You can't say something is 100%, this blue agave if it's not. And they've tested the product, these consumers and they say it's got a bunch of sugar water in it. So I mean, they're right. That's a real problem.
No. Well, put me on the jury, and I'll go 11 angry men on them. I'll be out there. I will fight for Costco every time.
It's a problem. I didn't realize, and I knew tequila was very regulated, but I didn't know the extent until I went down a rabbit hole on this story. To which this is a creature of all these international treaties and things about you cannot call it tequila unless it is 100% agave from certain regions in Mexico. You cannot manufacture it anywhere else and call it tequila. It's fascinating. If you manufacture it anywhere else legally under all these international treaties, you have to call it a spirit distilled from agave and not tequila.
Wow. Well, can I use the biggie caveat of what you expect? It's Costco.
Well, no, but you know what? Biggie, Costco usually is high quality
I know.
stuff. I mean, it's usually better. I mean, like in the winter when you can't get really good, fresh tasting produce at the grocery store, Costco's is delicious.
Don't ask.
I don't know how they do it.
I don't either. No one does, and don't ask.
Lisa was listening to this right now, spraying the chemicals. Like, I know how.
Lisa Lanier, our official attorney of this program. Phenomenal, as always.